Rings of Power has returned with Season 2.
War is coming to Middle-earth.
And over 40% of the audience from Season 1 did not return. I being one of them. But the funny part in this whole thing is they're making the same mistake that the Acolyte did. It makes you wonder if these directors and producers and showrunners are ever actually going to learn. You might think that the problem is huge budgets, but it's not. You might think that the problem is strong female leads, but that's not the problem either. Or you might even be thinking that the problem is content creators who won't shut up talking about these shows and why they're bad. That's not the problem either. In fact, the problem is far more foundational to the actual creation of these shows, and it's so obvious that it's laughable that others can't see it. We will get to that problem in just a second, but before we do, write down in the comments below what you think the common problem is between the Acolyte and the Rings of Power. No cheating, don't skip ahead, just see if you can get it right. Now, both Lord of the Rings and Star Wars are massive IPs with huge audiences who are passionate about their beloved franchise. So passionate that they're going to buy the books, they're going to watch the movies, they're going to watch the shows, they're going to buy the merchandise, they're going to dress up in costume, celebrating their favorite characters, they're going to go out to Comic-Cons, they're going to do all of those things, they're going to buy the video games and play them. Or at least that's what these big companies hope when they acquire these IPs. They hope that the passionate fan bases that have been built up over decades of time are just going to line their pockets with easy money, and all they have to do is churn out content, churn out merchandise, and they're just going to be able to swim in the money like Scrooge McDuck. Well, the problem is, it's not that easy. The problem is fans are smarter than these producers and directors and show writers actually think, because we can see clearly what they're actually trying to do right under our noses. But the one thing that Hollywood keeps missing, it's the one thing they can't let go of: moral relativism. You see, Lord of the Rings, as well as Star Wars, are founded on this universal understanding of good versus evil. That yes, there's even times where there's characters have tough decisions to make and may even do things that we see as wrong. They oftentimes then are redeemed. And this good versus evil paradigm is undergirding the whole storyline. So what ends up happening when you come to subvert expectations by making everything morally gray, where you try to flip it all upside down and make the Jedi the bad ones or make the orcs morally good? Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. And what ends up being seen clearly by audiences is that this is not the core foundational truth that these shows were founded upon, and really the core foundational truth that made these shows great. We would read these epic tales founded on these same absolute principles of truth, of good and evil. And now we come to these shows and see that that's all been twisted and changed because, why? Because that's the state of our world today. The idea that absolute truth could even exist for some is absolute nonsense. Oh man, it just makes me laugh, because that's exactly the good and evil religious struggle is what George Lucas even said is at some of the core of Star Wars.
Whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, believe in religion, don't believe in religion, the issue is that you either don't believe there's anything else out there, which is a little, I think, would be hard to live with at the same time. I mean, I believe something's out there, I just don't know what it is. I have no idea.
George Lucas isn't a Christian. He doesn't even necessarily know who God is, but he says there is a higher power. But Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings founded on Christian principles, founded on his love for Jesus, which, yes, that might make you feel uncomfortable, but that's exactly what it was started as. And so you have these orcs, these completely, totally corrupted, they have no good in them at all, contrasted by the struggle that then is shown throughout the books, throughout even the film's adaptations, this struggle of being pulled to the darkness. That when you give into that darkness, you become a selfish, power-hungry maniac. This is what the dark side does in Star Wars. That when you give into the dark side, you're actually giving into hate. You're giving into anger. You're giving into selfishness. But not in the Acolyte. In the Acolyte, it's made to be okay. It's made to be morally good to be a Sith. Why? Because the Jedi are the one that are hunting down the Sith. I can't be the way that I want. I just want to kill people. And it's the same in Lord of the Rings. Now, you might not have watched Rings of Power. I haven't, but I saw this clip going around and I just needed to talk about it.
We are safe here. We have a home. Must we go to war again?
Trust me, my son, when I tell you that we will never truly be safe until we've made certain Sauron is no more.
As you will it, Lord Father.
Yeah, this is an orc. This is an orc trying to say, I don't want to go to war. What about my wife and kids? This is an orc trying to be made human. But the whole point of the orcs is they are inhumane. They are not human. They are the antithesis of good. Not to mention the introduction of female orcs, which wasn't even a thing in the Tolkien universe. Again, so they undermine lore for the sake of their own moral relativism. This is the problem of Rings of Power. This was the problem of Acolyte. Why? Because in that understanding of moral relativism, it shaped the writing. It shaped the story. It shaped everything to be, well, now the Jedi are the ones that are kidnapping kids. The Jedi are the ones that are bad. The Jedi as a whole, right? There's a difference when you make large sweeping accusations like that versus saying a Jedi turned to the dark side.
Never. I'll never turn to the dark side. You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
A Jedi gave in to their passions. It's showing the whole council, even implicating Yoda possibly as covering all of this up. Meanwhile, the show is made for us to sympathize with the Sith and those that have been oppressed by the evil Jedi. Don't get me wrong, there's a way to subvert expectations.
It's King O'Loy. I'm the day shift manager on level 5. How long we hang on, how far we get, how many of us make it out, all of that is now. It's got 40 shifts left. Up to us. I'd rather die than try to take me down and give them what they want. There is one way out. Right now. The building is ours. We need to run, climb, kill. We need to help each other. This is not confused. Something is lost. Keep the moving until we put this place behind us. One way out! Can't swim!
There's a way to play some of these things up and make it a little bit morally ambiguous as to what's happening. But you can't do it with the very core of the show. When you start making the thing that is evil good, and the thing that is good evil, there's no going back from that. There's no writing around that. That when you're trying to build it out that way, it all fails. But this is what's happening in Hollywood time and time again, because we live in a time where most people will say there is no absolute truth. There is no God. There is no right or wrong. Whatever you believe to be true is true for you. And whatever I believe to be true is true for me. And so we can just live that way, except that just doesn't work, because what happens? What happens when my truth clashes against your truth? Whose truth is true? That's the problem. There is no end to moral relativism. It's just anarchy. Except we live in an ordered world. We live in a world that is a system of scientific miracles that all just work together. That whether it's a result of millions and billions of years of it slowly changing to be the way that it is, or it was that way in an instant, doesn't matter where you stand on that thought. You can just stand back and look. There is an order to this chaos. That's why we can have laws of mathematics. That's why we can have laws of physics. Why? Because there's an order to this chaos. Moral relativism is the absolute opposite of that. You might be sitting here going like, I just like Star Wars. I don't want to talk about this stuff. Well, I'm trying to outline and show how this is what the actual problem is at the core root of it all. And so it doesn't matter what show is being produced if it's not living into the moral universe that was created to be Star Wars, that was created to be Lord of the Rings. When you're starting to twist and change these things, it's an alternate universe. It doesn't exist in the universe that was created by Tolkien and Lucas. It doesn't exist because it's breaking the lore, it's breaking the foundation. And so Lord of the Rings is doing the exact same thing as the Acolyte. And I think Lord of the Rings is going to have the exact same fate as the Acolyte. And whatever that means, whether you want to blame content creators or whether you want to blame hate speech, there's no hate speech coming here. All I'm saying is when you change the core truth of something, be prepared when the people who liked that thing don't like that thing anymore. And right before our eyes, this is exactly what's happening in the Star Wars fandom as factions are being formed and people are being divided based on ideology. You want to see more about the Twitter war, civil war, whatever you want to call it, between content creators around this moral relativism and this understanding of the Acolyte and Acolyte being canceled and all that. It's a mess. If you want to hear about the mess, you can click right here. Or if you just want to have a happy day, go have a happy day. Enjoy. Thanks for watching.